time being, it's impossible for me to take my family back to the UK safely. Well, for a start, the only time that I've come back to the UK is...
The royal world froze the moment William's statement reached the public. It was not long, it was not emotional, but it landed like a locked gate slamming shut. For Harry, the dream of returning to the UK under the proud banner of Invictus was suddenly stripped of warmth, welcome, and royal protection. One sentence changed everything, and behind palace walls, no one pretended it was accidental. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. William had not raised his voice. He had not attacked his brother by name. He simply issued a firm statement declaring that Harry's planned Invictus UK return would receive no royal family support, no official recognition, and no shared public platform. Invictus, a sporting event created to honor wounded and injured service members, still carried public respect. That was why the words mattered. The prince was not rejecting the veterans. He was rejecting the idea that Harry could use their courage as a bridge back to royal life. Harry read the statement twice, and the second reading hurt more. At first, anger flashed across his face. Then something colder settled in. He understood the message beneath the language. His return to Britain could happen, but it would not be blessed by the crown. Meghan watched him in silence, her eyes fixed on the screen, sensing the moment his anger gave way to wounded disbelief. She knew this was not embarrassment. It was a public boundary. William chose every word, like a man closing a door he once hoped to keep open. A statement in palace life is not just a message. It is an official public position that tells staff, media, and the country how the monarchy wants an issue understood. This one separated Invictus from Harry with surgical care. It honored the cause while refusing to honor the comeback. It praised service while denying restoration. It left no space for confusion. A palace aide later confirmed in a private briefing that the final wording had passed across William's desk before release. The softer lines were removed. The warmer phrases vanished. The future king wanted clarity, not comfort. Charles saw the draft before it went out, and the king did not stop it. That silence carried its own force, because a father's hesitation can speak louder than command. Harry set the phone down. Meghan did not ask what he would do next. She already knew the answer was not simple. The real shock was not only what William had said, it was who had allowed the door to close behind him. This was never only about one event, one statement, or one return to British soil. This was about two brothers standing on opposite sides of a wound that had never healed. William saw duty. Harry saw rejection. William saw protection of the monarchy. Harry saw another door closing in his face. And between them stood Invictus, the one legacy Harry believed no one could take from him. William carried the weight of the crown before it was even his. As Prince of Wales, a title given to the direct heir who is expected to become king, he had become the central guardian of the monarchy's public image. Every royal appearance now carried meaning. Every public gesture could be read as approval. That was why his statement mattered so deeply. The prince was not just speaking as a brother. He was speaking as the man responsible for what royal support means, who receives it, and what price comes with it. Harry saw the same moment through pain. To him, Invictus was not a clever return plan or a public relations bridge. It was the one achievement that still felt untouched by family war. The games had given wounded veterans a stage, and they had given him purpose when royal life had become unbearable. So when William separated the event from royal support, Harry felt something sharper than anger. He felt humiliated. The statement did not question the value of Invictus. It questioned whether he still deserved royal trust. William knew that distinction would cut deep. The future king believed his brother had spent years standing outside royal discipline while still reaching for royal power when it suited him. That contradiction had become impossible to ignore. Harry wanted the warmth of the institution without accepting its rules. The prince saw danger in that. If one public return looked like forgiveness, then every future appearance could be shaped into a comeback story. Catherine understood the human cost. In a private conversation with William, later described in a documented palace account, the princess urged him to protect the veterans from the family fracture. She reminded him that compassion for service members should never be confused with approval of Harry's choices. William listened, but he did not soften. He believed kindness without boundaries would only create another crisis. Charles read the statement alone and said nothing. The king set the page down slowly, and the silence around him became its own answer. He loved his son, but he did not overturn William's line. That silence hid a deeper truth. The palace had not reached this rupture in one morning. It had been preparing for it long before the world saw the sentence that changed everything. To understand why William's words were so final, the story must return to the hidden moment that made this showdown unavoidable. Behind every royal explosion, there is usually one quiet moment that lit the fuse. This time, that moment came inside a private planning meeting at St. James's Palace, where Harry's proposed Invictus UK appearance was discussed behind closed doors. What began as a schedule review became the point of no return. By the time the meeting ended, William no longer saw the visit as a gesture of service. William entered that meeting expecting a simple discussion about timing, security, and public handling. St. James's Palace matters because it is more than an old royal building. It is a working royal base where serious family and household decisions can be shaped before the public ever hears them. Harry's team asked for royal seating, palace coordination, and a senior family acknowledgement during the Invictus UK return. On paper, it looked practical. To the prince, it looked like something else entirely. Harry believed the request was fair. He saw Invictus as a national moment, not a private comeback plan. The Games honored wounded service members, and he felt Britain should stand proudly behind them. But William saw the danger hidden inside the language. If the family appeared beside Harry, the world would not only see support for veterans, it would see a royal bridge being rebuilt, without trust being restored. Catherine's name changed the room. William's expression hardened when he saw the princess listed in a proposed welcome segment, even though she had not personally approved it. He did not shout. He did not slam the file shut. He simply looked at the page for a long second, then asked who had authorized her inclusion. No one answered quickly enough, and that silence told him everything. Harry gripped the edge of the table when the answer came back. A senior aide, later describing the moment in a documented palace account, said the Duke looked stunned when he was told the family would not be used as a symbolic backdrop. To Harry, it felt like another rejection. To William, it was basic protection. The monarchy could honor service, but it could not be pulled into a picture that suggested forgiveness had already happened. One phrase made the meeting turn cold: a moment of royal unity. William circled those words with his pen. Then he rejected them. That small mark became the seed of the later statement. A private objection was turning into a public boundary, and everyone in the room felt the shift. Harry learned later that William had personally blocked the unity language. That knowledge cut deeper than any aide's refusal. It was no longer palace machinery. It was brother against brother. What followed was not a formal palace exchange, but the confrontation both men had spent years avoiding. The confrontation did not happen in front of cameras, courtiers, or carefully placed microphones. It happened in a private room, where the silence was heavier than any speech. William entered first, controlled and guarded. Harry arrived moments later, carrying the anger of a man who believed his last honorable bridge to Britain had been attacked. Neither brother raised his voice at first. That restraint made the room feel dangerous. Harry looked at William and asked why Invictus had been dragged into royal punishment. Invictus mattered because it was built around wounded and injured service members, giving them honor, competition, and a public stage after sacrifice. To Harry, that cause stood above family damage. He believed the veterans deserved unity, not another cold reminder that the royal family still saw him as a problem. William did not step back from the question. The prince told Harry that Invictus was respected, but the way he was using it could not be ignored. A royal public platform means more than a seat or a handshake. It signals approval from the monarchy itself. The future king believed Harry wanted the glow of royal recognition without accepting the discipline that came with it. That was the line William refused to blur. Harry's voice cracked when he accused William of turning compassion into control. He said the veterans deserved better than being placed inside a family war. The pain in him was real, and the prince saw it. But William did not let the emotion move the boundary. He removed his glasses, placed them on the table, and said Harry could not step outside the institution and then borrow its weight when the moment suited him. Harry stared at him, wounded and furious. He asked whether Charles had approved the statement. William paused, and that pause became the answer. The king had seen the words. The monarch had not stopped them. For Harry, that silence felt like a second rejection, one from a father who still loved him but would not rescue him. William then revealed, through a recorded private conversation, later described in palace notes, that the final sentence belonged to him. Royal support cannot be extended where royal trust has been broken. Harry absorbed the words like a blow. The sentence was not decoration, it was the heart of the decision. Harry left without shaking William's hand. The prince stayed behind, still and pale, knowing the break had become harder to repair. Yet the true power behind the decision was not only in that room, because William may have spoken the words, but the machinery that made those words permanent was already moving. Inside the monarchy, power does not always announce itself with raised voices. Sometimes it appears as a revised schedule, a missing name, a removed chair, or a statement approved without ceremony. William's decision carried emotional force, but it also carried institutional weight. By the time Harry challenged it, the palace had already treated the matter as settled. The return was no longer a family issue. It had become a royal boundary. William's position gave the statement a force Harry could not easily fight. The future king was not only speaking as a wounded brother, he was speaking as the next guardian of the crown, and the crown means the whole royal system of duty, public trust, and national symbolism. When the prince drew a line, staff understood it as instruction. Public planners understood it as direction. The message moved quietly, but it moved fast. Charles felt the trap close around him. The king stared at Harry's name on the briefing sheet, and for several seconds, he did not turn the page. Fatherhood pulled one way, monarchy pulled the other. He knew why Invictus mattered to his son, and he knew why William feared the return would look like restoration. The monarch folded the sheet slowly, as if a smaller motion could make the pain less public. Catherine felt no joy in the decision. The princess understood that the statement protected the crown, but she also knew it deepened the family wound. In a private account later shared among senior aides, she described the choice as necessary, but not painless. That mattered because Catherine had always seen the veterans as separate from the feud. She wanted Invictus honored, but she did not want Harry using royal warmth as proof that trust had returned. William then made the boundary practical. A royal diary entry connected to Harry's return was removed from a senior household planning file. A royal diary is the official schedule that helps organize who appears, where they appear, and what message that appearance sends. Removing the entry meant the visit would not be treated as part of the royal family's public calendar. The prince had turned emotion into procedure. William also instructed aides that there would be no balcony moment, no church appearance, and no joint reception connected to the Invictus visit. Each image would have carried meaning. Each handshake would have been studied. Each shared room could have been sold as forgiveness. The future king refused to let that happen. Harry's team soon received the first visible sign of collapse. The return they had imagined was shrinking before their eyes. And when the fallout finally reached Harry's side, the pain was no longer hidden inside palace walls. Harry did not explode when the full consequences arrived. That was what made the moment more painful. He sat with the updated schedule, looking at the blank spaces where royal acknowledgement had once been expected. No palace reception, no senior family welcome, no carefully staged sign of unity. The silence on the page told him what William's statement had truly done. It had not delayed his return. It had stripped it of royal meaning. Harry's team received revised planning notes showing that the Invictus UK return would still move forward, but without royal attendance or official palace partnership. A palace partnership means the royal household formally supports an event through planning, presence, or public backing. Without that support, the event remained important, but it no longer carried the glow Harry had hoped for. The veterans were still central. Their courage still mattered, but the soft return to royal life had vanished. Harry sat alone after the call, tapping his thumb against the phone as if one more message might change the answer. Nothing came. He had built Invictus from pain, service, and survival. He believed that cause could rise above the family fracture. Now William had made sure it would not become a doorway back into the institution. The rejection felt colder because it did not attack Harry's work. It simply refused to let that work carry him back toward royal acceptance. Meghan watched the hurt settle over him. She told Harry the statement had been designed to make him look like an outsider in his own country. Her words were sharp, but they reached the fear he had not spoken. Britain was supposed to be the place where Invictus would feel most meaningful. Instead, the return now felt like proof that the palace could welcome the cause while keeping him at a distance. Harry's team quietly withdrew a planned private request for Charles to record a message of support. A recorded message from the king would have meant public warmth from the monarch, even without a shared appearance. But no one wanted to send the request only to watch it be rejected. That withdrawal mattered. It showed Harry's side had begun adjusting to a reality they could no longer fight. Harry understood the larger warning. William's statement had not just shut down one appearance. It had created a rule for every future return. No royal platform without royal trust. No public unity without private repair. No borrowed crown light without the discipline of the crown itself. Yet just when the divide seemed absolute, something shifted. The next move did not come from a document, a courtier, or a public announcement. It came from a quiet meeting no one expected. After the public statement, after the private confrontation, and after the first wave of humiliation, there came a moment without aides, advisors, or palace language. William and Harry stood together in a small room, away from the machinery of monarchy. There was no audience to impress, and no statement to defend. For the first time, the issue was not Invictus, protocol, or public duty. It was grief wearing the mask of control. William agreed to the meeting on one condition: no staff, no spouses, no advisors, just two brothers and the damage between them. That mattered because every earlier moment had been filtered through royal structure, public meaning, and careful planning. A royal advisor is someone who helps shape decisions and protect the institution from mistakes. But this time, the prince wanted no buffer. Harry had asked for honesty, and William gave him the one thing the palace usually avoids. Harry did not begin with anger. He began with exhaustion. He admitted that Invictus had felt like the only doorway back to Britain that still carried honor. Not a palace door, not a title, not a balcony, just service. He told William that the games had helped him feel useful when the family no longer felt like home. The words landed heavily because Harry was no longer defending a strategy. He was exposing a wound. William listened without interrupting. The future king then said the sentence that changed the room. Honor could not be built on images designed to suggest forgiveness that had not happened. He told Harry that a shared appearance would have been read as healing, and healing had not taken place. The prince was not denying the value of Invictus. He was refusing to let public emotion create a false ending. Harry looked at him and asked the question neither brother had dared to say aloud. Did William hate him? The prince's face tightened. In a recorded private account, later summarized by a palace aide, William answered that hatred would be easier than disappointment. That answer hurt, because it carried love inside the wound. Harry understood then that the statement had not come from rage alone. It came from broken trust. William made one concession, and it mattered. The family would not attack Invictus. The veterans would never be dragged into the feud. Harry could carry that cause forward, but not as a hidden route back into royal life. The prince had drawn a hard line, but he had also protected the one part of Harry's work that still stood above the damage. That emotional boundary changed the meaning of everything. The brothers did not embrace. They did not solve the past, but they left the room understanding the truth more clearly than before. Once the private pain became public symbolism, Britain did what it always does with royal drama. It turned one sentence into a national verdict. By morning, William's statement was everywhere. It moved from palace corridors to breakfast tables, radio panels, newspaper stands, and crowds outside royal gates. Some saw it as the future king finally drawing a necessary line. Others saw it as a brother using power against pain. But one public image captured the entire storm. A newspaper front page with William's face beside Harry's, divided by the words, "No royal return." Britain turned the sentence into a national argument. The public debate centered on one painful question. Had William protected the monarchy, or had he punished Harry at the expense of Invictus? The monarchy matters in moments like this because every royal signal becomes part of a bigger story about duty, loyalty, and trust. If the prince supported the return, many would see it as forgiveness. If he blocked it, many would see it as exile. Broadcasters seized the meaning quickly. One morning, presenter framed the story as the clearest sign yet that Harry's royal return route had been blocked. A royal return route means the public path by which someone outside the working family slowly rebuilds trust, appearances, and official warmth. That phrase cut deep, because it made William's statement sound less like a warning and more like a locked system. Harry was no longer facing one refusal. He was facing a new rule. Outside Kensington Palace, a small crowd gathered as the debate grew louder. One woman held a handwritten sign that read, "Support the veterans, not the feud." That single line carried the sadness of the whole story. People respected Invictus. They admired the wounded service members at its heart. But they also understood that Harry's name now carried royal conflict into every room he entered. Harry watched the coverage privately, and the praise for William hurt more than the criticism. Commentators called the prince firm, disciplined, and ready for kingship. Harry heard something else. He heard the country being told that his brother's coldness was strength. He saw his pain being measured against the monarchy's need for control, and control was winning. One newspaper front page made the split impossible to ignore. William appeared composed and formal. Harry appeared in military dress. Between them stood the headline, "No Royal Return." The image turned private hurt into public judgment. It told people where the line had been drawn before anyone had to explain it. A veteran then spoke in a public interview and said the games must remain above royal conflict. That gave William unexpected moral cover. The prince had separated the cause from the feud, and now others were saying the same. The noise kept growing, but the meaning became clearer with every hour. The world had reacted. The palace had chosen its line, and now only one question remained. What did this moment truly prove? In the end, William's statement was not just a refusal, it was a verdict. It told Harry that service alone could not erase broken trust. It told the palace that the future king would no longer allow emotion to blur royal boundaries. and it told the public that the monarchy had entered a colder, sharper era, one where love might still exist, but access would have to be earned. William understood the cost before anyone praised the strength of his words. The prince had separated Harry's personal mission from royal endorsement once and for all. Royal endorsement means public approval or support from the royal family, and in this case, that support would have made Harry's return look like more than an event. It would have looked like a step back toward royal life. That was why the statement mattered. It did not attack Invictus. It removed the crown from Harry's comeback story. Harry accepted the truth with visible pain. Invictus still stood, and the veterans remained respected, but the path he hoped to walk through them had been closed. He had believed the UK return could become a symbolic bridge, a way to stand again on British ground with honor and purpose. Instead, William's line made clear that service could be admired while trust remained broken. For Harry, that distinction hurt more than an open insult. William felt no victory. The future king carried the burden of a man who had chosen duty over brotherhood in public view. He knew the world would call him firm. He knew some would call him cold. But the prince also knew that one blurred image, one shared platform, one carefully staged moment of unity could confuse the monarchy's message for years. He had protected the crown, but he had wounded a brother to do it. Charles grieved in silence. The king's refusal to overturn William's line became its own confirmation. He still loved Harry, and that love made the decision heavier, not easier. But the monarch did not step forward to soften the blow. He allowed the future king's boundary to stand, because the institution could no longer be guided by guilt. Catherine saw the moment clearly. The princess did not view it as revenge. She saw it as the monarchy finally refusing to turn emotional confusion into policy. Policy means the rules and choices that guide future action. And this new rule was simple. No royal platform without royal trust. Harry could serve. Harry could speak. Harry could return for Invictus. But he could not use that return as proof that the family had forgiven what had not been repaired. The story ended with a painful kind of clarity. Harry still had Invictus. William still had the crown's future. Charles still carried the sorrow of a father watching his sons stand apart. But the monarchy had made its choice. It would honor service. It would respect sacrifice. It would protect the veterans. But it would not allow Harry to return through the side door of public emotion. William's statement did not destroy Invictus. It protected it from becoming a royal battleground. It did not erase Harry's work. It separated that work from the institution he walked away from. And it did not heal the family. It proved the wound was now part of the monarchy's structure. The final verdict was simple and devastating. Harry's UK return may still happen as an event, but not as a royal restoration. William shut that door with one sentence, and this time, no one inside the palace reached for the handle. The crown remained standing, but one brother was left outside the gates he once called home. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.